Facebook. I'm trying to do this multi-streaming thing, and so that we get more bang for our buck, which we're not really paying for a buck, paying a buck. We pay for Zoom, but that's it. Anyway, developing intuition. That's why you're here, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm glad to see that at least the Facebook part is working. The Zoom part, I believe, is working. So, developing intuition. So, what is intuition, right? Um, and do you even believe in it? Do you believe that there is a sixth sense, a sense beyond the normal five that we all associate with our day to day lives, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, right? Those are the five senses that we kind of meander through the world with. But there is so much more. And sixth sense is one of the terms. Intuition. I just want to share something. If you don't believe in intuition, we talk about science, right? Because science is developing and understanding what intuition is. And certainly animals have gotten it. Essentially, all it means is that you are tapping into the grid of which you are a part of, because everything in the universe is connected. And that science has been known at least since Einstein's time, at least as far as the science that the metaphysical folks, the spiritual folks, that knowledge has been around, forever. But scientifically, provable science since at least Einstein. So um, everything is connected, and all you're doing is kind of tapping in and breathing in and reaching out and touching what you are. Because that tree is you, that cat is you, everything is you, the air, everything. We are all connected. And intuition is simply using that knowledge, is tapping into that knowledge. So why would you want to use it? Does it matter? You're going, well, I'm making through my day every day. All I got to do is touch, see, smell, taste, hear, and I'm fine. I'm getting along. Yeah, you could do that. And most of us do. Except for a lot of us don't even use the listening part very well. I know I'm not always the best at that. But by tapping into the universe, by tapping into the what is, it opens up a whole nother realm of existence. It allows us to feel compassion and understanding in ways that are just beyond what the normal five senses allow. It allows me to recognize that something's about to shift, that someone has an issue, that tree is going to fall, or that the water is unhappy, or whatever, that some being from another planet or another realm or whatever is nearby, or a ghost or whatever. I don't like to use the term ghost, but and that's a whole nother conversation. I always bring up things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to go into describing all that. But we can talk about that some other time. It gives you options. The more you know, the more you understand, the more you have options when it comes to making decisions, right? So intuition is something that allows you to enhance your life, lift up your life. Again, have empathy for others, helps with making decisions. So you are tapping into the universe, into the what is. You can be speaking with other beings, of course. There's mental telepathy, of course, that's a common term, but you can speak with anybody, anywhere in the universe, which is a double-edged sword. Because if you don't know who it is that you're talking to, you don't know that you actually want to talk to that person. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So, personally, I have always been well, we all are intuitive. It's not like, it's only in existence or allowed for certain people. We all have it. It's just that most of us have it turned off, or the door is shut. I most of my life had knew things and understood things and etc. But I didn't really access it very much or use it in my life. And then 20 years ago, I started working in energy healing. I was using electrodermal screening, and that is an amazing modality. It electronically, because again, everything being connected, that means that every cell in your body knows that every other cell is going on, every other cell, organ system, everything. They all know. And so all we're doing is tapping into the body and finding out what's going on. And the ways that we were able to help people it was just amazing. And that was, but I wasn't using my intuition. I was using, in my ability, in how I would get the information. I got really good at figuring things out really quickly. I had my own kind of approach, but I wouldn't say it was very intuitive. It was just, logic. I mean, it just made sense to do it that way. Anyway, and then looking back, about 10 years into that, I started to really get into my. Then I really started getting into my intuition, and I started hearing things from beings. I would be at like psychic fairs and things, and um, I don't know if you've been participated in one of those, but we would always joke, when nobody's around, we do each other. Light workers, when no one's around, we do each other. Because you did. There weren't any clients. So we'd be like, hey, do me real quick. Everybody would be trading off, and it was a lot of fun. But I kept on getting all these readings about, remember who you are, and you have this healing ability, and this and this, and then I was like, what are you talking about? It was like so just out there. And then this is a really long story that I'm trying to abbreviate. Um, just things started happening, and I started getting messages, and I started realizing, some years before that, maybe 3-4 years before that, I had been. We were living on a farm. It was real. Anyways, I was first learning about, again, all kinds of things, chemtrails and just extraterrestrials and things. Not that I ever doubted any of it, but I hadn't really had any experience. And I remember I was in my room, and I was in bed, not asleep, but it was at night, so I was going to be going to sleep theoretically. And I got a really clear voice in my head said hello, and I'm like, uh-oh, who's that? I mean, who is that? And the voice sounded really friendly and everything, but I just responded back in my mind. I didn't say anything aloud, and I just said, I'm really sorry, but I don't feel that I am able or have the understanding or the capacity at this time to distinguish who you are and whether you're somebody that is good for me or dangerous for me. So I'm bowing out. And they honored me and didn't speak to me again. Or at least not, till later when I was ready. So now going forward a few years, I'm much more, these things are coming at me, and I'm getting thrown out this stuff, and it's clear that I have to do something, that I have to explore this situation. And so I'd get messages, things happened. Um, and I tell you how you can get answers and how connected the world is. I could ask a question in my mind, and a semi truck would go by, and on the side of it would be the answer to my question. I mean, just bizarre things would happen, or I'd be somewhere, and I'd look, and I'd just look down, and there'd be a book, and the title of the book would be an answer. Or I would want an answer to a question. I remember one time I was debating whether to call somebody, to reach out to somebody, and being kind, mean that whole, I don't want them to not respond back or not be my friend or not like me or whatever. Nobody likes rejection, um, or certainly I liked it a lot less then. Now it doesn't bother me. Um, So I asked in my prayer, should I reach out to that person? And I got a clear answer in my head, yes, go ahead and reach out. And me being such a spoiled, untrusting baby, I said, okay, God, I heard you. Um, but could you give me another message just so that I'm sure that, that was you and not you, source, whatever, and not my own subconscious mind speaking? So I was homeschooling at that time, and I was reading a story to one of my kids. And in the story, it was talking about how, people don't reach out to others, very much. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's my answer. So intuition, I think, starts with one, the desire, but with the paying attention and noticing all the things around you. Once you recognize and realize how connected everything is, you start seeing things. Okay. So now, as you are, um, let me say something important. Look right at the top of my little notes here. It says in big letters, pray. And that, I don't think I can stress that enough. Coming back to um, who are you speaking to? You want to pray. You want to be in alignment with source. You are telling all yourselves, your spiritual self, your physical self, your emotional self, your subconscious, your higher conscious, all this, that you are doing this, you are wanting to connect for the highest good. Okay. And you are also aligning your vibration with source. Okay. So that what comes to you is going to be positive, because there is no guarantee. um, there are so many things that can go wrong. I can tell you so many things that have happened to me, where I was doing something, and I just, I'll give you one example because this is pretty intense. This is kind of probably more of an extreme, but just so you understand. I was clearing somebody's house, and this was an unbelievably full house. So many energies in that home, not just what we call ghosts, but beings from all kinds of realms, beings that didn't even have the shape of humans. And it was, it was quite something. It was interesting because I learned a lot. That's the hard thing. That's why I think maybe I do it, because I love learning about the universe and learning about all the different life forms and ways of life and things. Anyway, so I had opened it. I think I ended up being there 4 or 5 times, and maybe on the third visit, maybe fourth visit, I had opened up a portal in this kind of attic space, so that a lot of these beings that just weren't ready to go all at once. So it was supposed to be open for 2 weeks, and then I gave the homeowner instructions on how she could close that portal after the 2 weeks. But she contacted me, Karen. I don't want to close it myself. I feel confident doing it. Would you please come back? So I did. The 2 week date, we went back, and somebody else was with me using dowsing rods. If you're familiar with dowsing rods, those are pretty powerful, and we'll talk about those in a minute with pendulums and things like that. Um, and I had gone through the house. I had closed the portal, um, took care of some other odds and ends that were going on in the house. And then the person with the dowsing rods, she's like, Karen, I'm getting that you have to go back upstairs. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you have to go back to that attic. And I'm like, really? Because, I wasn't getting that at all. And, but I can be wrong, right? Nobody says I'm perfect and I'm right all the time. So, okay, I'm willing to go back up there. I could have been wrong, could have made a mistake. So I went back up there. And as I'm getting closer to that attic door, I'm like, not feeling so good. And I get to the threshold, the door's closed. I get to the threshold, I'm standing there, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this is not good. This is not good. But I wanted to honor, the request that she had gotten with the rods. Um, and and I didn't want to stand on my high horse and be like, well, I know I'm supposed to be in here. I'm right. So I had a prayer going in my head, and I put it on loop. I put it on endless loop, and it was just going in my head. It was just a real short prayer, just going in my head. This whole time in the background. I put my hand in the doorknob. Don't want to open that door. Take a deep breath, and I open the door, and I'm standing there, and I see somebody that I know, somebody from the spirit world, someone who I'm very familiar with. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Because as I'm looking around, there are all these other beings that I, vibrationally, energetically, I could, they were not what we would call high life forms. So why is this other being that I know, so why is he with them? That, my little human brain is going, this is just not right. And again, that prayer is running and running and running and running in my head. And then I look again, I'm looking closer now with this being, and I'm trying to talk to him, but he's not really responding. And then I realize he's not responding because if he does, he's going to give it away that it's not really him, that he just took on the form, the shape of that being so that I would think that it was him. And because I trusted that being, that I would trust what was going on in the room. But it wasn't him. So as soon as I'm like, no, you're not him, he just left. The other ones were like, we don't need you anymore. You're no good to us. So he was gone. And the rest of them, even though, as I said, I could tell that they were lower vibration, like so polite and gentle and, come on in, have a seat, how are you doing? Just being very, very welcoming. And I'm like, again, the loop is running in my head. The prayer's going, and I'm like, what do they want? Why am I here? Well, Karen, would you please, oh please, open that portal back up? No, because I don't know what you're going to do with it. And whatever it is, no matter what you say it is, I can be pretty certain it's not something that I want to have caused. So, no, not doing it. Have a nice day. See you later. And I left. So, so we could say that the person with the dowsing rods had not checked to see who she was getting information from. That would be one approach. The other approach would be that by her getting that message and listening to it, and me then following up, that I got a valuable lesson. So, as we do these things, we want to always be learning, be in learning mode, be in humble mode, but at the same time, be smart. Because there are beings out there that can do nasty things. During an exorcism one time, the woman was lying on the floor, and she'd had this attachment since she was like 2 or 3. Her mother had taken her to all kinds of places and tried to get her healed. And now this woman was, I don't know, 30s or something, because she had teenage sons. And she still has this attachment. And people had told her, go to come and see me. So there were a group of us, and first there was one attachment that I saw, and he was kind of thrown under the bus, because I'm looking at him like, he can't possibly be strong enough to do all the things that I know that this woman has shared that has been going on in her life. This can't be him. And then I see the real one. He's really the one, and I'm like, ooh. And he's like, I tried to fool you. See, they try and fool you. And again, long story short, he's. I don't even want to go there. Why am I hesitating? I don't know. He told me that if I did not duel him, that he was going to go after her kids. And I just was, that was a hard place to be in. In the meantime, the woman is laying on the ground, and there is black smoke coming out of her body. And all the people around her, there was 4 or 5 of them, and they're all, supporting her. And there's black smoke, and they're all coughing. and one woman is like in a, it's just, it's intense. So is that going to happen to you? Hopefully not, especially if you use wisdom and humility and prayer and have the right intentions. And don't ever think about going down the dark side. Don't going doing using dark magic, because that is a slippery slope. I have never tried it. Believe me, there's been times I've been tempted. Somebody's been nasty to me, and I'm like, oh, I would love to do something dark to that person, but just don't even go there. It's just, I'm saying it's not worth it, not because I've done it. I'm saying it's not worth it because I just know it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You have to hold yourself high and be in God's place. Okay. So, all right. Some tools. So just again, like I said, day to day, just acknowledging the signs that show up around you. I even, like Daniel and I, we play cards, especially now that we're in quarantine or not isolation or whatever it's called. And we've been playing a lot of cards, and I notice how the cards lay for me. I haven't told him this, but I notice how they lay out for me. I notice how what card is laid on the table about whether I take it or not, like how the vibration is. Are they like, am I trusting? Am I playing purely logic by what I have in my hand and what I see on the table? Or am I going to trust that they're putting on the table what I need, even though it doesn't look like it from my hand? And time and again, if I don't pick up that card, and based on what I have in my hand, then it turns up later that I should have picked up that card. So just little things that you can like test yourself. Again, the signs, noticing signs and things, opening up a book to the, just let source open it, okay, to the page. Just trust that you're going to have the answer that you want. Um, yes, yes. That woman with the black smoke, yes. And you know what happened? The next day I got a text that she had called one of the other participants and said, now remember, she's had this attachment since she was 2, 3 years old. She called one of the other participants. She said, did you know that the sky is blue? Can you believe that? All her life. That's how impacted she was by that being, that she didn't even recognize, couldn't even see that the sky was blue, literally. But yeah, so that, yeah, I, knock on wood, I haven't I haven't been a participant in any exorcism that hasn't been completed, and that's why sometimes people call me and want something done, and or they want me to go look, and I'm like, I'm not going in there until I know I'm going to get it done. I'm not doing it over the phone. I'm not going to go just do a look see. If we're not doing it now and we're not going to finish, I'm not opening the door. I'm not stopping in for tea. You know, if I go and connect with this, we're gonna do what we got to do. So, and like I said, thank our Lord, everyone has come out successful, and I am very grateful. And as are the people we've worked on, animals too. Okay, groceries, developing intuition, just groceries. You're at the store. Which apple should I pick? All these apples look really good. I want the one that is the most delicious tasting for me and has the most nutrition for me. And you can, you know, depending on how weirdo you want to be in the grocery store, you could, close your eyes, settle, relax, and allow it to just come up in your vision, and you just know it's the third one up on the left or something. Um, yeah, his head is harder than wood sometimes, so I knocked on the table. Um, or your hands, because everything is connected. There's heat in your hands, energy in your hands. If you even rub your hands together, and then you can play with it because you kind of built it up from then. Um, the deceiver, yes, and there is like you could say like a capital D deceiver, but lots of small d deceivers, demons, devils, whatever you want to call them. I again, we have labels, but when if you're walking the mystical path, you want to stay away from labels. My analogy is that everything is on a continuum. There's the continuum, which at this infinite end, which has no end, is our Lord, is the highest energy there can be. And at the other end of that continuum is um, the opposite, right? And everyone, every rock, every planet, anything that you can think of is somewhere on that continuum. So that means wherever I am, I can compare myself to somebody else. Why? Because I am where I am, and for all the ones that I'm further along the continuum, there are just as many further ahead of me. So it is just me. Okay. So yeah, we use those terms to express something, a thought, but we have to just stay away from judgment because they're all God's creatures. Yeah, demons and devils are God's creatures too. Seems strange, but it's true. So a couple tests are if you're connecting with, it's back to the energy, so you can just kind of like feel which orange is the one that you want, and test it. And again, if nobody's around or you're not worried, if you're not self-conscious, just test it, and don't be afraid to be wrong. So you pick up an apple and you go home and it's the lousiest apple ever. Well, that taught you something, right? Then that whatever you thought was the right answer, then you know that was off. So you keep working with it, and you keep streamlining and finessing it. Okay. Um, Pendulums, dowsing rods are another tool that many people use, especially when they're first starting off. I bought a pendulum. Elijah was a year and so it was 20 years ago. We were in Washington, this beautiful vegan retreat place out in the woods in Oregon somewhere. And anyway, there was, everybody's walking around tie dye or naked or whatever.
Bigfoot?
I'm sure he was there. The difference between a pendulum and a dowsing rod. A pendulum is actually, you can have anything, typically metal or stone. I think anything with weight on it that has a chain, so that your chain, string, whatever, and then has a weight on the end, and you use it. That's another. If we have time towards the end, somebody bring me back to that. That's a pendulum. Dowsing rods are basically L-shaped. There's a wooden dowel that you held in your hand. The rod has a hole through the middle that the dowsing rod goes through, the metal L. So the dowsing rod can move freely while you're holding. The dowsing rod moves freely within the two wooden rods that you're holding in your hand. And so you ask questions and get answers. So back to my first pendulum. I bought it. I was so happy with it, and then I played with it for a little bit in the tent. And I was really getting really weird answers. That it just wasn't working. When we got home, I tried again. I just was always getting weird answers. And I took this class about using pendulums for this healing modality, which was great class. But my stupid pendulum just wasn't working. So I asked the woman, I don't know what the problem is, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. So she tested it and she's like, there's something wrong with it. I'm gonna. So she put it in some energy and she's like, let it cook for the day, and we'll try and clear it from whatever's wrong with it, and use one of mine for the class. So that's what I did. I used hers for the class. At the end of the day, everybody left. She pulled out my pendulum, and it still was acting weird. And again, I mean, she'd been working on it, had it sitting healing energy all day. So she tested and she asked with her pendulum, she asked what was going on with my pendulum.
Dead battery.
No, a very much alive battery. It had been, she said, there was a chip in there put into it was an amethyst stone on a chain that Atlanteans, from Atlantis, the lost civilization of Atlantis, Um, yes, Hank, Don, that is a very good point. Let me, we'll talk about that in a second. Um, so Atlanteans had put a chip in there, and that was what made it so goofy, because it was programmed. I forget what she said the program was, and she said, do you want to see the chip?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I mean I believe her, because I had been going to her for a while for holistic health reasons, um, but at the same time I was like, let's see if this is for real. This is so out there, right? I never heard of such a thing. So we went out to her garage and she got a hammer or whatever and smashed my amethyst, opened it up, and sure enough, there was a little chip thingy in there, you know? So I would be careful about using a stone pendulum. Just again, how often is that going to happen? Not very often. But these things happen. And again, a lot of these things that have happened to me, I think happened to me so that I understand and I know what's going on. And I'm just sharing some things with you so that you have an awareness, that just because you're talking to somebody, I remember somebody was going through something, and I said, and she's like, "Well, I checked with my guides," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, what did they say?" And she had asked them a question, and their answer included the F word. They're like, "Oh yeah, you do that," and I'm like, "Really? What kind of spirits are you talking to that use the F word?" You know, I mean, how, that doesn't sound like that's not right. I mean, you want to talk to spirits that are higher than you. And if a spirit higher than you doesn't have a language that has a language that includes F bombs, I don't know. Something's not right. Or a friend of mine, if she's on, I'm sorry. I won't say who she is, but she, her spiritual mother wanted to connect with her. And so she was given some exercise. So she went home and she was doing that. But somebody else came in. Her intention was to connect with her spirit mother, but somebody else came in and she was really connecting with them, and they were just having a gay old time, and she was so happy. But then I'm talking to her, on the phone, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we went and we did the shopping. We did this woman, this being is having her spend all kinds of money," and I'm like, "What? That doesn't even make any sense. That just doesn't make any sense." So I looked in and I saw that no, that's not your spirit mother. That's somebody else that you're talking to. So again, frequency determined by crystal, yeah. But with something that doesn't have a structure that we know of as structure, would that be crystalline as well? I don't know. I don't know what the verbiage with that. But yes, questions and answers. You and how you phrase the question. If you give a question that has the possibility of a gray answer, then you're not going to have real good results. You have to be very very clear in giving yes and no if you're using a pendulum, a rod. There is a maybe. You can get a maybe, but you have to be very good about how you answer your questions and structure them in such a way. And some people like waste a whole lot of time, um, like going through the alphabet to get answers. And like I said, that's such a waste of time. My son, one time, I was learning about homeopathy. He came home sick and he just laid down on the couch. He couldn't do a darn thing. And um, I was just learning about homeopathy, so I got out the book. But there's a whole list. I mean, there's hundreds of remedies in homeopathy. I'm like, I'm not going to go through this. So I just went page by page. Is it on this page? No. Is it on this page? No. Is it on this page? No. Is it on this page? Yes. Is it in the left column? No. Is it in the right column? Yes. Is it at the top half of the column? Is it the bottom half of the column? Break off big enough chunks that you're not going one by one by one by one. Be kind of, plan your plan it out a little bit so you're not wasting forever and a day, um, you know, look for answers. And I will like to share that for pendulums and dowsing rods, tools like that, um, you want to limit those to things that don't have any emotional impact on you. Okay. So for health things and stuff, use your intuition. For more emotional, deep things, you want to use prayer, meditation, and connection. And again, you're going to be working on practicing on that. Um, and I've got this has happened so many times. There's somebody on here, maybe I don't know if that person, either of these two are here, but we were at a retreat, and yes, if there's an emotional component, the mental, exactly, because your mind can control the pendulum, your mind can control the dowsing rods. So if you're any kind of fear, you've got any kind of emotional attachment, your subconscious is going to reach out and sabotage it. And if you don't believe me, try it with your mind. You can get it to do what you want it to do. You know, obviously, if you're looking for answers, you're going to be clear and not do that. But if it's something that you're emotionally attached to, in fear about, in joy about, whatever emotion it is, your subconscious can sabotage it. Same with muscle testing. Exactly. Very true. So at a retreat, there would I said to somebody who's very good with the pendulum, I said, we were just chatting, and I said, yeah, there's something going on with so and so and so and so, and each of these people had been to the retreats before, and separately had work done around partnership. And I said, these two, something's going on with these two, and she was checking with the pendulum. No, there's nothing going on, and I'm like, yeah, there is, but she was certain there was not. And so again, I was like, okay, I could be wrong. It happens. And but I wasn't. The next day, she's like, no, it's true. I'm like, I know. So yeah, I want to share a couple things with you that I hear. In learning about all this book, for example, is so excellent. It talks about, see, well, here you see White House seances, Ouija circles, Masons. The story about Ouija boards is in here. It's very interesting. Um, Intuition, spiritualism, all those things have been part of society all along. We've got caught up in this whole science thing, and so we think that it's not, that hasn't existed, but it does. It always has. Johnny Appleseed, Mr. Apple Tree guy. Um, he was a healer. He had some great powers, but they don't ever talk about that. There's so many things that they don't talk about. Henry Wallace is somebody that Daniel, he was shared with me some powerful things about this man. What a great guy. I mean, he was vice president under
Jackson,
Jackson.
wasn't he?
That was later than that. I thought it was in the 1900s.
Well, anyway,
Okay.
go on.
Anyway, um, he was a mystic. So there's a lot of things that people don't, they kind of downplay. So this is a very interesting book. The next one, Mutant Message Down Under. This woman, a businesswoman from the United States, goes to Australia and has a very profound experience. You can read it as a novel. She says it's true. I believe it to be true, but you read it for yourself. See what you think. The God effect. Remember, I talked about science catching up to what religion has been saying all along. And by religion, I mean all religions, pagans, druids, Christians, everybody. We've all understood that God and spirit is everywhere and everything is connected. So this is bringing the science to the table. The God effect, quantum entanglement, science's strangest phenomenon. Entanglement was the thing that really apparently Einstein tripped over himself. He couldn't wrap his head around it. At least maybe he did later in life. I don't even know that. Science in the Akashic field. I read this thing and enjoyed it, but I am not a science mind. I learned a lot, but if you ask me to tell you one thing right now, I can't remember. But I think it's a good read. Some of these things I read a paragraph and then I have to go back and reread it because it's kind of beyond my little brain. This is a little older, but this Gerber is an MD, and in here, I mean, he's talking about medicine, but all the studies and all the ways that vibration matters, being connected to everything, how it applies to our lives. There's so much in here. My book is full of little yellow post-it tabs. There's just so much in there. You don't even have to read it cover to cover. Just like open a page and you'll be like, ooh, interesting. So, okay, faith, physics, and psychology again. Now, yeah,
it's an amazing book.
We actually both have this book. We before we knew each other, we both had this book.
Mm-hmm. It's a good guide, good understanding. It
Yes.
brings physics and psychology and natural and human sciences together, physiological.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This this is a woman that was in a convent. So she was a nun. She died in 1179, I believe. So that's 900 years ago. Um, Very good, interesting book. Okay. Intuition. You don't want to be on any kind of drugs. And by drugs, I am including alcohol and, sad to say, cigarettes. You do not want to be on anything that interferes with your vibration. But alcohol and drugs, especially, they like put a hole in your energy, in your vibration, and dark things can get in. So if you're going to be practicing intuition, you don't want to do it high. Even if you don't feel high, just don't have anything that is going to interfere with you, because you can mess yourself up. You can get fixed, and I'll help you if we're available for each other. Um, but why take the risk? You know, um, it's just you just be smart about it. Don't damage yourself. Okay, don't mess with your vibration, because you are kind of leaving yourself open and vulnerable as you're seeking out things. Okay, so don't mess it up. So, getting back to testing. So when I am working with somebody and I get a response, so I get so and so has what's a good example? So somebody shows up for somebody, right? They have a message for them, and I say, oh, it's a male. It feels feels kind of family, maybe grandpa, uncle kind of thing, or something like that. Because I don't know who they are unless they specifically say, and it doesn't always work that way. Which again gets back to this whole thing about questions. So the person will say, well, that could be my Uncle Joe. Um, and I'll say, well, does he wear glasses? Because maybe this one has glasses. And she'll be like, no, didn't wear glasses. So then I try and take, yes, alcohol and drugs make you vulnerable, very much so. And again, it's dangerous. Why mess with it? So I'll play with it. I'll try to look at the image and um, try to um, have the glasses off. Can I see them without the glasses? No, it just doesn't feel right. That person does wear glasses. Okay, so no, that's not your Uncle Joe, because they are wearing glasses. Or so say I get like somebody needs an herb or something, and I know it starts with an L, and um, I'll be like, okay, is it lavender? Okay, I think it feels lavender. That could be good. Maybe it's lilac. So then I go, okay, how does lilac feel? No, that really doesn't feel right. Lavender, yeah, that feels better. So test yourself. Check to see if you're not sure. Test yourself. Just check to see other options and what feels right in your body. And don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to be wrong. You know, Experiment and develop your intuition by testing yourself, by practicing, by working with it, by when I first started doing healing work, again, I was getting all the messages, you're a healer, you're healing, walking down the street. So I'm like, what? Anyway, I took a class, and so to get certified in this modality, which I haven't touched in years, I don't even know how to do it anymore. Um, a friend suggested that I go and volunteer at the Cancer Resource Center, because they are open to that, and they give people some help. So I'm like, perfect. I can get some hours in, I can get some practice, I can get certified. So I'd be working on these people, um, and while I'm doing the modality and working on them, running energy through them or whatever, and these are hour-long sessions, there was like this story going on in my head, and I'm like, Karen, would you keep your mind on what's going on here? Keep your mind on this client. quit like living in fantasy land and la la land. What's the matter with you? I mean, really? I mean, I'm trying to do a service, and then my mind is wandering off, which it does anyway. But I wanted to really change the properties of the tune fork. You change its pitch, yes. Um, so one time it occurred on me. So one of the women that she'd been coming in every week that I was there, and that's a beautiful story, right in and of itself. But I said, "Do you? I have this story, this like movie in my head. Would you mind if I shared it with you while I'm working on you, whatever comes in?" And she's like, "Sure." So as I'm working with her, this movie is playing in my head. This story is going on in my mind, and I share it with her, and she's like, "That's me. That happened to me. That's my car. That's my house. That's my whatever." Because this happened, I did it with her many times, and I was like, "Huh." So I tried it with somebody else, and some people said no, they didn't. They didn't want to hear what was going on in my head, and I said okay. And so I just didn't say anything. But the rest of them, I did, and every one they were like, "Yeah, that happened when I was a little girl," or, whatever. So, and they were incredibly detailed. I could see like, the cracks in the walls and what people were wearing and the yard and everything. Um, so that was, a real. I'm not saying that's going to happen to you. I'm saying it happened to me because it gave me a possibility that I could understand what was going on. Um, Now I don't get that kind of detail unless it's for whatever reason necessary. Um, it's a knowing and it's a trusting that source is going to give you what you need, and the more you work with it and the more you get confirmations and the more you trust and believe and stay in prayer with it, the more it's gonna develop, and your skills are going to develop based on your heart's desire. The more you want it for helping others, for making the universe a better place, for development of everyone along that continuum. um, Empathy is a perfect example of energy perception. Yeah. So the more that you are progr- following this path for the bigger picture, the stronger you're going to get. And there's going to be days sometimes where you can't get anything, or you're not. It's unclear, or you get a very or what, today's not the day. Tomorrow I can look, but not today. And you'll find out that there was a reason that you couldn't get the answer today, but you could get it the next day. There's all kinds of things. The more you do it, the more you'll trust. Okay, so I am going to quit blabbing. I'm going to go back to share screen because remember that nun I talked about that died in 1179. I saw a quote of hers. It's actually on the flyleaf of the book, and I wanted to share that as the segue into Daniel's um, uh, portion. Okay, so here, uh, there. So there's her book, and on the flyleaf was this beautiful quote: "With earth was the human being created. All the elements served mankind, and sensing that he was alive, they busied themselves in aiding his life in every way." Isn't that beautiful?
That's the story.
Now, this is a woman in Europe who passed in 1179, and this is exactly the perspective that people here in America that had not yet had contact with Europeans, that was their approach too. Okay.
She's pretty special.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, geez. Sagoli, hello, everybody. It's good to be here this evening. And I got a little side story here going on. And it comes from this book called The Drum.
I'm sorry. Oh, honey, you can't touch buttons.
Quit putting them in front of me.
Don't touch buttons. I just realized that the chat option here on Zoom, I don't see it. So I apologize if anybody has been chatting. It's not there. I'm so sorry. Go.
Okay. So this is just a side story about people coming into their own way, and eliminating some of the stereotyping, the judgment, the hate, the insecurities, all these things that that most people go through um, well into the middle life. When things start making sense to them about why do I have these things? I mean, why am I always getting tripped up by an insecurity or something that's happening? Um, and then they start wondering, and they start saying, maybe the problem isn't everything and everybody or the world or the universe or whatever. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe I have a few things that I need to take a look at. It's very tough to take a look at things, because we get programmed pretty early in our lives, about how we're going to perceive um, the world emotionally and mentally, mostly mentally, because emotionally, being raw and immature, emotionally immature, that has to come up with experience. And some people get stuck at a certain level and they just stay like that forever, and that's unfortunate because we are given the opportunities to make things change for ourselves. So um, I'm just going to say something about how people perceive the world, and not everybody perceives that. But I'll tell you, we've been getting conditioned for quite a long time on how to walk into this next stage of technology, um, getting away from nature, not believing in the unseen things, on interconnectedness with nature, all these type things that people just walk into, like the next generation, if they're not steered into understanding that there's more unseen activity going on than there is in the physical world. So compare how an Indian and non-Indian responds to a hungry mosquito. An Indian will usually let the mosquito have its fill and then allow it to go to satisfy its destiny, while they might brush them off with a long stroke of the hand. Compare this to a non-Indian who slaps himself silly trying to get rid of the pest. Scientists scientists acknowledge that when all the bugs and insects die, people will have about 3 months to live, for there will be no more oxygen. Nature will cease to be, including trees, when the bugs die. The universe takes note, as all of nature is dependent upon one another. Okay. Um, the indigenous tribes of the world understood that the invisible spirits manifest themselves in the solid world, in the solid world. And what I'm trying to say is the invisible spirits manifest themselves in forms of water, the air, stars, sun, moon, wood, rock, animals, wind. They were aware of the connectiveness and invested their thoughts and their dream world in the invisible realms. They appealed to the sun spirits to deliver nurturing energies, and they prayed to the water spirits to deliver life giving energies from the thunderbird clouds onto their parched lands. Today, people have distanced themselves from the invisible spirit world that our ancestors knew, your ancestors too. I mean, you're not too far from that either. Um, so again, today people have distanced themselves from the visible spirit world our ancestors knew and depended upon. This has caused a void, which is being filled with pollution and disintegration of the food chain. We see that, and the balance of nature. All of this is justified as progress and the wonderful world of technology. So, this detachment from the spirit emphasizes the me of the non Indian world, as opposed to the we of native philosophy. Many deny the physical world's relationship to the parent, the energy of the invisible spirit world. So, as I'm talking, I've been here for so long that it's just when it's put into words and I try to explain it, maybe I should just tell you what it is, so You can absorb it. And the thing too is, you don't have to really understand everything about anything, but if you're listening, and there's something else here, it might twist or tip, your conscious mind, because we all have innate wisdom that has intergenerationally traveled with us through our DNA and RNA, and I'll explain more about that later. So, Native American tradition understands that we share our breath with all the invisible: the deer, the bear, the hawk, the snakes, the trees, the sharks, the whales. Is the wind spirit that moves the breath from the west to the east, mingling each breath with the source of all life. Mhm. So every breath that we take has been taken in from the dinosaur time to this present time. Just some kind of a molecule we've shared with things that were here before us to where we are now. So I just want to say a little bit about that. And what it's really trying to say to you is that not to get too far away from who you really are, because we're all being conditioned, we're all being set up to be something that has already been projected for easier controlling, so that
Shannon wants to know, do we have dinosaur breath?
you might, coming from um, the horse family, I know you go out and take care of horses, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I just envy you a lot with that.
Hobbit dinosaur breath.
I just want you all to know that we have that ability to bring into ourselves that innate understanding that we might even call intuition, to be present when something comes about. And you've never had this experience or any background in it, but you know something about it, that you can use, to develop up an idea on what you're trying to do, or trying to move, or make something go on that could be in the best interest of all people. Oh, to take caution. Okay, so intuition is the power of attaining direct knowledge. Okay, so you got to learn from the drum, which is your heart. Each beat is as important as the one before and the one that's ahead. The present is our opportunity to connect with our generational wisdom passed to us from our ancestors, which I just said, through our DNA and RNA, and the ability to connect to a situation that we had no experience with. Now, here's something that, as a male, I need to say these things to any male that's out there, and for women to take and understand their power as God given power, the gift of, the gender of being a female. Female and women are the light of life, who had been given the mysteries of the universe to create life. Every life, be it mammal or cold blooded, snake, reptile, fish, the female holds the eggs to grow life. Why I bring this up in our talk? Well, man has always had an envy about women, and I'm going to go on and say what women do. Women teach men what love can look like, and how love can nurture and sustain a higher energy recognized by the spiritual world in the form of joy to the creator of all things. So when we get on that higher level, when men have been programmed to be, and all these stereotype things have been put in the head, saying that women are this, women are that, you know, um, um, there are other things that men also think about too, that they are able to bear children, of course, and beloved the child. Women have the compassion to give love, unconditional love. This is a gift. This is a gift. The gift of tuition is intuitively felt. Um, I pushed a button. Um,
No, I did. Keep
okay,
talking, baby.
okay. Intuitively feel. Okay, here's what I wrote. Tuition. To intuitively feel an event that is to see in their minds, I, the outcome, be it be joyful, stressful, painful, or awkward. This ability to be able to receive energies, to see and feel the future or the next moment has been given freely to women. But here's how it works. As a man, these four gifts have created a rivalry in men to own it or to control it or to destroy it within the women. Within man is a truth of inferiority, for a woman claims ownership of these God given gifts. To a man, these cripple most of most of these most with his ability to navigate God's highest vibration. And what I'm trying to say here is that women, they freely express themselves in these ways, and it really cripples men, most men, with their ability to navigate through the highest vibration of love, compassion, uh, and being able to nurture a child and bring the highest form of understanding of spiritual life. Okay. It was never said that man could not possess these emotional qualities. We weren't exempt. For him to enjoy intuitive energies is for one to come to know his nature. Now, here's how it works for guys, for men and warriors. I like to consider myself as a spiritual warrior as well as, a protector and a provider, um, and see things in a different way. And it's taken a long time for me to do this. I mean, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface, but just scratching the surface feels a lot better than I've ever felt in my life. So, um, so for me to enjoy these intuitive feelings and to in love and joy and happiness is just something way out of my scope when I was a younger man. And for a man to enjoy intuitivity energies, for one to come to know his nature. Now, knowing his nature, to accept this inability to have these intense virtues. Now, first of all, we got to say to ourselves that I don't have these things. I have to admit. Man has many ways to discover his gifts. He simply needs to acknowledge his origin. He is, and the origin is that he is both male and female, but male in gender. He has the ability to nourish and to develop these abilities only through acceptance that he needs to cleanse himself of the um, stereotyping of women and to admit his jealousy of the woman's ability to have this higher vibration, this intuition, this compassion, this woman's true nature, to admit the threat to his insecurity that a woman could destroy him because he does not understand compassion, love, unconditional love, nurturing of a child, elder, nurturing of a woman, um, being and loving animals, and the biggest thing is he can't love himself. So man does create a mountain of defenses to nurture his needs of control. Unfortunately, you know, every other person that I know who picks up on, on words, that can be suggested I don't try to do it, but I like to. Sometimes I like to figure out what this guy is about. But he'll fall into a trap real quick about, start pushing his chest out, talking about this and that, being a great lover, and all these kind of things. And I'm not impressed at all. I simply say, do you know how to love? And love, you know, well, we want to change the subject after that. But on the most part, there are many, many, many men, more than we can imagine, um, that do and have gone through the process of going through the process of accepting himself as being of his mother and father, but also of his mother, which is beautiful. Um, so, to take the spiritual steps to cleanse himself with an open mind, then the thoughts will travel from his mind to his heart, and time is man's gift. Experience the emotional freedom that life offers as joy, love, and compassion, and believe what you do next is for the greater good. So I think that's just about everything I got here. Um, I am so grateful to to be given signs. In a lot of ways, um, I interpret these things for myself. Or if anybody ever asks me about things, I enjoy talking to people about dreams. I'm pretty good at understanding the subconscious about those things. I've traveled a lot in my being awake and being asleep, and I visited a lot of different places that when I wake up, I'm just, if I can just remember a little bit of it, I get showed more and more about places that I've been to and what activities I've been in, and I've carried on conversations with Karen also many times about where I was. And, many times I'm more tired when I wake up than after a night's sleep. But it's about going to different places where folks are really in need, of some kind of, not a leadership situation, but to witness what a man can do besides be aggressive and assertive. I mean, to be assertive, not be aggressive. So, um, I love that my woman has these things, and every woman that I've met, I see these little indicators that say, if any switch needed to be turned, flipped on, they could do it in a heartbeat. As for a man, a man will step back and let somebody else try to do it or do something they can't do. But I've learned to be a volunteer. Most when I was a kid, everybody used to tell me, "Don't volunteer for anything," you know, on the jobs or anything. But today, I'm a pretty good volunteer. I'll try it. If it's going to work if it can work for me in a better spot, and my intuitivity says it might be good for you, Dan. Try it out. So I'm going to give the screen back to my beautiful lady and carry on with your intuition. And I know you men out there, you're probably saying, yeah, you shouldn't have told him all that stuff. But but
Yeah.
the thing too is, I'm about helping men become men,
Mm.
and the hardest thing for men to do is to turn it off, because that's a defense,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been hurt, they've been stomped on, every time, and they start learning how to abuse women, how to control them and spindle them, and there's no future in that, and women,
Or just to keep them at arm's length,
yeah,
even not hurting or anything, but just not letting that connection, that deeper connection.
and women can just look at them and say, I'm going to pray for you, and it really hurts a guy when you don't pray for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing too is, when he walks away, he goes, I don't know what that's all about, but it sure felt good when she said it was going to, they prayed for me, but maybe I should get a hold of somebody and talk to somebody about that, you know. But
But there are more and more and more men
there
waking
are.
up. It's a beautiful thing, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Keep coming. Keep
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Keep volunteering,
Women too,
Stand next to your
everybody. We
lady,
all need to do it.
and just know that she's got the power.
When we first met, okay, I was single for quite a while. And I, how many billion people are on the planet? I don't know, 5 billion, 8 billion, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You know, in theory, um, what, 10% of them are in my age bracket, and then half of them are male, and then limiting how many of those are not married, are not homosexual, are not asexual, are not
Abusive.
abusers. That percentage of potential partners for me just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. They don't drink, they don't lie, there's a lot of things that I'm like, oh, I'm never going to meet anybody, because on top of all of that, here I am walking this mystical path, getting more woo woo by the minute, and I really felt like I needed somebody who was going to understand where I was going, what I was doing. My previous husband, God love him, very good person, but
Nice
he
guy.
just he just that just wasn't working for him. Um, anyway, so Daniel was brought to one of my retreats,
Mm.
and the whole weekend I was like, man, that guy gets it. Like he knew what was going on, what we were doing. I mean, I didn't have to explain a thing to him. He knew what was going on. Anyway, but I wanted to share a story. So our first date was Standing Rock, and
It's a good one.
um, 9 days, 11 days, 9 days, whatever it was. It was a long first date. No, I think it was.
I thought it
Anyway,
was
it doesn't
11
matter.
days.
It doesn't matter.
Travel too.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're there, and we went. We knew that we weren't going to be part of the protests. That we were just going to participate in prayer, being supportive, but we weren't going to be active protesters. And it occurred to me at some point that all this dialogue and all this action that was going on, all the police that were there, and it was just nuts.
Military.
Helicopter, military, it was intense. um, that that there's somebody that's controlling all of this. Maybe not an individual, but there is an institution, there is a reality that's controlling all this. It's making decisions, that's rippling down to these police. Yeah, you can have this interaction with these military, but they're not making decisions. It's really, they're just following orders. And so I'm like, we have to go after the black snake. And he's okay. I'll support you, whatever you want to do. And I said, we can't do it here. Now remember what we talked about, dark energies and things, and being careful and everything. I'm like, there are just way too many people here. I don't want to stir up a pot, and then potentially somebody can get the fallout. And then, how am I going to find them? How are they going to find me? I didn't want to risk it.
Mm.
So I got an image in my mind of a scene, a landscape of where this had to be done. And it wasn't where we were. I didn't know where it was, but I knew that it wasn't where we were. So we packed up our stuff, and it just happened to be the day that it was going to be a bad day. And we were in the camp packing up, and there were literally, just like in the movies, there were literally bareback Indians on horses, three of them, woo, running through the camp, telling everybody to go to there was this big dome that was considered the safe zone that they had put out, that was, this anyway. I mean, it was intense. And so we're leaving, and he's all Indianed up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to tone it down. Anyway, long story short, we have to go find this place, but first we got to get out of there. And there's cop cars from all different states, all different plates, flying down the highway in the opposite direction, where they're going. And we're just leaving. We just got to get out of here, and then we got to find this place. And we are now, we were in South Dakota. We knew that we had to end up in Wisconsin, and someplace was this where we had to do this piece with the black snake. And I'm like, I don't know where it is. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll get us there. And I'm like, you didn't have my vision. You don't know what the landscape looks like. And whatever. I'm like, okay, but I just let it go. What am I going to do? Worry about it? What would be the point? That's not going to get me anywhere. So we just drove. I think I drove first. I did drive first. And we're going along, and I don't even know what state we ended up in. We weren't in South Dakota anymore. Someplace between South Dakota and northern Wisconsin, someplace. He said, take this exit. Okay. Take the exit. We're driving along, and I see a sign for a quarry, and I'm like, huh, that could be it. but we just kind of poked around, and yeah, so we went back to that quarry, and we pull into the parking lot, and we make it go around the road that encompasses it's a quarry that had turned into a park. Um, and I see it. I see the landscape that I had saw in my vision, and he got us there. you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Part of the gift too is that we were given that incentive to do something that spiritually and involve um, a higher events, higher beings to intercede into this person who's making a decision of her sins. And in doing so, that intention got us out of there. And it was hours after we left that they actually shut that camp down, and the police and everybody ran everybody off of that camp. There was violence and everything. There was reaction to the situation. It was a real tough time, but we weren't aware of that. We had an intention, but it was like God says, time to go. I'm going to have you do this,
and we did it, and that was an intense piece. Boy, that was an intense piece. And working together to do that deep work, it was so intense. Again, this is our first date. We anyway. So, Kathy, I'm so glad you finally
you
made
guys
it.
are falling asleep and say, "Oh, we heard that story before."
You missed the main thing, but whatever. It's okay. Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Because Shannon put in there hi, and I'm like, I don't know how to respond back. I don't see it on my phone. My nephew is the one who got me through. So I'm like, yeah.
It's always
Well,
the
I'm
younger
glad you made
generation
it.
of technicals.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're going to do the healing session in a little bit. So, anybody wants to stick around for that? We will be doing that soon. In the meantime, any questions you have about developing your intuition, questions, comments, anything that you feel like I missed that you would like, or he missed, either one of us, that we could share with you. As I said in the invite, if anybody tells you that they're the expert at this, run, because the more you know, the more the more you realize that you don't know.
If they tell you he's a shaman, you better think it's more like toilet paper. Anyways, no. Maybe shamans don't admit that they're shamans, and you'd never hear one say that. But I'd like to say that if you ever come across somebody that you really care about who's having confusion about, aggression and anger and so forth and so on, they're right on the teetering point of desperation, and that's a real good place for me to enter their lives, because I can help them out at that point and change them into something, because they're ready to
help them,
become a man, guide them. So if you have somebody, please send them this way, or make a call or something, and ask me to talk to them. I'd be happy to do that. I mean, that's what I'm here for. That's what I do.
That's what we do.
Okay, I'm going to leave now. We'll see you all later.
The good thing is trauma. We want to working with traumas, are both of our, all this healing thing. When we're working with somebody, trauma is usually underneath. So we have both two very unique modalities on how we address trauma. But anyway, okay.
Can you hear me,
Shannon?
Yeah, I just want to tell Daniel, Kathy Edwards says, I sure appreciate the way you are, Daniel.
Did you hear that?
What she said?
Kathy Edwards says to tell you she appreciates the way you are. She sure appreciates it. Okay.
And I responded, yeah, we love that goofball.
We love the goofball. Yes, they love the goofball. All right. So again, please, any questions, anything that we can do to help you with your own path. And anyways, we're always here. So back to what I was saying. Remember, prayer, so important. Get yourself in the right space. Start off right. Prayer. It doesn't have to be a days long prayer. It can be the same one every time, a different one every time, however you do it, but come up with a prayer, okay? Whether it's your own words, or you use words from ascended masters, you use words from your holy scripture, whatever faith you are, something that that you found in a prayer book from somebody else. It doesn't matter. Find something that's going to work for you. Again, same thing every time, different one every time, doesn't matter, but do it. Make sure that you're starting off with prayer. Every little thing, every little hit you get, every little response, every little knowing, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Walk around with gratitude for everything. The light turned green, thank you. You get the right card, playing cards, you get that, you're looking for the 7 of hearts, and you say, and this happens to me. I'll be like, and it'll happen to you too. I'll be like, boy, if I really could use that 10 of hearts right now. And he'll drop the 10 of hearts. Daniel, don't tell him. But it happens, you know. But you got to say thank you. You got to say thank you. And again, it's not a big thing. You just have that. You're just putting out that energy of gratitude. Okay. You don't have to, write a thank you note. I love writing thank you notes, but you know, put out that energy that you are appreciating what universe has done for you, and the more you do it, the more they'll respond because you put yourself in that vibration. The more you see things. I did that thing. The more you, how did I phrase it? The more you look, the more you see. The more you listen, the more you hear. Okay. The more you do it, the more it'll show up. Okay. And then remember always to test, 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 test. If it says if you get a hit, jump off the deck. You want to test that. Wait a minute? Is that right? Maybe am I understanding that right? I'm interpreting that right. I mean, you want to work with it and get the right answer. Okay. And if you're not sure, then don't jump off the deck. All right. I tried to look at Facebook comments myself. I can't. It's not. It doesn't work. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, yes, there is. If I have a second screen, which I'll try to have one for next time. So, Shannon has very graciously offered to tell me any comments. So, anybody, any questions? Otherwise, we will. Oh, and did I miss any? I know that there was some going before. I might have missed some. So, Shannon, it's on you. Otherwise, we'll get the healing started. Oh, it's already 8:30. You guys have been with us for an hour and a half. Thank you. It's very kind.
Yes, there were no other questions that I see on there, but Don said, Daniel, my brother, cares for this woman and has always been a good friend.
Don, my brother.
I think Daniel was talking about a woman that he helped. I'm not sure. Daniel would know.
Okay. Well, I can look on the Facebook after we shut this down. I can look on there and
other than
I'll tell him whatever it was.
No one has put any questions, so I think we're good to.
Okay. So you all feel confident that you know how to work on developing your intuition. Is that what I'm hearing, or not hearing, or that's what I'm inferring? But by your okay. No questions, no comments. You are good to go. I did a fantastic job. Not likely, but hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. All right. And you can type them now. Before we hang up, we'll check again that there aren't any. Okay. That you get, that you got what you wanted out of this. You spent some valuable time with us, and we want to be sure that you got what you got what you came for. Okay. Or at least in the right direction. Okay. I mean, I'm not the expert. Neither is he. The two of us together aren't the expert, but we certainly want to share and help in any way we can. So don't feel like it's a stupid question or, just do it. Okay. All right. Healing. Everybody, be comfortable. Hopefully you got your phone turned off. There's nobody around that's going to interrupt you. And if they are, just let it in, let it go. Okay. What's happening is we are calling on source energy that thing that we're all connected to, the thing that's part of everyone. We're calling on that to come through us, work with us, and it goes into our body and it does what it needs to do where it goes. And by body, I don't just mean your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your etheric body, all those aspects of you, all those layers. And we are only just on the tip of the tiptoeing into understanding all the multiple levels that we are, all the how complex we are across all realms, and it's just incredible. I mean, I don't know it, but I just want to be clear to share that don't limit yourself. Don't think it's just for this. It is for everything across all worlds, everything. Because again, everything's connected. Everything that is you, all the lives that you're going to have, all the experiences across the universe, across eternity, it's all in you, all in all of the yous, all of the bodies of you. Okay? Be comfortable, have nice, slow, deep breaths, allowing, relaxing muscles, joints, nerves, everything. Just be comfortable and allow it to flow through you and do what it wants to do. If you respond in some way, whether it be pain or coughing or laughter or I don't know, a mad desire for a cup of tea or whatever. Um, might want to get the cup of tea after, but honor whatever that is. That's intuition, listening to yourself. Your body is processing something, possibly releasing something, shifting something. Something is happening. You may notice it, you may not, but when you do notice it, you are developing your intuition. You are paying attention to the universe, which you are a part of. You are the universe. Okay? So honor that. If you have to cough, cough. Let it out. If your knee starts jerking and you're like, oh my gosh, well just let it. Let it spaz out and do its thing. And it'll stop when it's done and when it's ready to go. It's just release. It's a release. It's all good. Okay? What else? I don't think that's it, right? I don't need to tell you anything else. And guess what I'm going to do first? I can't hear you. I'm going to say a prayer, right? You do that. Okay. Get my chair, get these chairs out of the way. Oh, this isn't me. Whoever's watching, whether it's watching now or you're watching it next week or whatever. Oh. I'm coughing with you, but you cough too. Let it out. Oh. Oh. Ah. Mm. Don't be in fear. This doesn't mean that you got a virus or something. You're releasing something. It may not even be something literally in your lungs. It could be in your spirit form that is using your lungs to let it out. So don't get caught up in any kind of weirdness, okay? Let it go. Fear. Weirdness is based in fear. I'm not talking about the weird like I am, or the woo woo weird. That's based in love. At least I try to be. Keep your breaths. Mm. Hold on. Stay with it. Stay in the flow. Oh. I'm seeing a female, but males don't. It could just as easily be you because this could be for so many people. But this is very strong. There is an inner child here that so is wanting to be embraced and acknowledged and loved by their adult self. If it feels like that's you, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, take that moment. Brownish hair, kind of medium dark, not dark hair. Acknowledge. So what happens in our lives? We have traumas, we shut things down, parts of us spin off, all kinds of things happen. Again, we're not going to talk about that now. Another thing is too lengthy to talk about now. But then we're not whole, right? When we lose a piece, when we shut a piece down, when we let something control us, some skeleton in the closet, even though we think it's in the closet, it still has control over us. So this inner child, by embracing her and welcoming her and letting her know that what happened was then and this is now, and you can move forward together. You're healing a piece of yourself. Yeah? You're embracing more wholeness of all of you, of all the yous that you are, were, and ever will be. Okay? Bring her to your heart. Oh, she'll have her arms around your neck. So happy, delighted to feel loved and remembered. And if you go to bed tonight or tomorrow, wake up or whatever, in the next few days, have some kind of emotional reaction, response, embrace it, thank it, congratulate yourself for doing that work for yourself, supporting yourself in that way. Okay? All right. Come on back if you like. Hang up if you want to stay with it and not hear me talk anymore. Drink some water. Nice big glass of water. Speaking of which, all right. I'm going to go check Facebook, see if I can see anything. Um, and it's still like on a frozen screen. I can't maneuver through there. So once again, Shannon, please, if you would share any comments that are on there or questions or anything anybody has. Don't want to leave
Yeah,
anybody on stage. Go ahead.
I don't see any comments, but do you see I'm typing on the Zoom screen for you?
You're typing where?
I've been typing on the Zoom screen. That's what you've been responding to.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. So no comments, no.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt your thing if you weren't done yet either. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
thank you. Thank you so much for helping out. I really appreciate. I'll figure out how to do this. I'll get more techno savvy, and then they'll change the technology, and I'll be left in the dust again. uh, I'll wait another moment or two.
Kathy Edwards says, love you.
Oh, I love you too, baby.
Cindy says, I was coughing too, felt like clearing energy for myself and others, sending much love to all.
Oh, thank you, Cindy.
Cindy also said, got pretty dizzy, lightheaded.
Okay, good. Let it
Don,
go. Obviously, stay safe. And drink that water.
you have more comments.
Okay.
Don says, God is everything that exists, and therefore everything that exists is God.
Yes. Yes. It's so true. And that's why, again, having labels, when we talk about dark energies, darker forces, there's a label. It's an identifier, but we don't ever want to have it be a judgment, um, because everything is created by God. We are all God's creatures. The dark and the light, the high and the low, the good and the bad, and everything in between. There's so much more gray than there is black and white. Which is going to be a topic one of these weeks, one of these Fridays. Okay. Anything else, Shannon, that you see?
Yes. Cindy says, it's not concerning. I felt there was a response to the strength of the energy we were receiving and exchanging.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, Cindy, thank you so much for modeling for others the allowing and the accepting and the understanding of what happens, and rather than going into fear, recognizing that that's how it works. That's how healing works. It's a shift, it's a process. Something happens, something moves. Again, obviously, we always want to stay safe. You know, that's why you want to start off in a comfortable position. So, anyway, thank you. Is that it?
Yes, looks like that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Love to all of you. Actually, do I look up there? I'm not even sure. Just know that I'm looking at you, even though maybe it doesn't look like it. See you next week. Always get a hold of us. You have a question, comment, concern, whatever. We still are doing those free healings, those 15-minute sessions. Sign up for one of those. We're here. This is our role to help to help mankind, and not just on this realm. Help the universe in any way we can. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess that's a different platform. I don't know how it got on here. Good night. Oh, I have to. I guess I do this.